still watching Newsday. And now the Group Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari, has explained that deep adjustments and other stringent measures moved the corporation from a loss-making business to profitability in 2 years. Kyari said that as at 2018, Nnpc recorded losses which amounted to 803 billion naira, a figure that has fallen to 1.7 billion naira in 2019. He described the 287 billion profit made in 2020 as a watershed moment for the corporation. According to him, despite the fact that Nnpc is no longer a loss-making business, it will look to continue improving on its performance, especially under the recently assented Petroleum Industry Act.
This administration came into being in 2015. There are very drastic changes to the way we do our business. One is to cut costs, to be more efficient, and also to ensure that this company is transparent and accountable to Nigerian people. And therefore, it's a process that started in 2015 on the advent of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, who has been consistently the Minister of Petroleum Resources since 2015 till this date. And the end result is that piloting, gave us the opportunity to do things differently. And because it is a continuous process, when I came on board, I learned from what was on ground and also brought in a new perspective, which is to ensure that we build on what I've made, to collaborate and take the steer and direction of the board of directors of this company, to ensure that we cut our costs much more deeply, to be much more efficient by automating our processes and our systems, and also to be very careful about what we invest in and what we don't. And ultimately, the combination of all this, and also focusing on the people's issues, so that when your people are happy, they will work better, they will be much more efficient. And the combination of all this resulted in first reduction of the losses in 2019, and then thereafter, after doing much of the work that I have just mentioned, we ended up with a positive statement of account at the end of 2020. So it is a collective activity, collective action, but ultimately the things that we did made it possible. Secondly, Ruth from Bloomberg asked, what cost did you eliminate? First of all, the first principle of cost elimination is that don't buy what you don't need. And we simply stop buying what we don't need. We also, particularly in fiscal 2020, were able to engage all our contractors and insisted on cutting costs to at least 30%. This worked, and we were able to pull down most of our procurement costs by 30%. Thirdly, we saw the opportunity to be much more efficient by automating our system and processes. That made us faster. And also, ultimately, it reduced so much of logistic costs that ordinarily would have been additional costs on our business.
And now for greater introspection on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Diran Fawibe, a retired director from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and the chairman, International Energy Services. Good to have you, sir. Welcome to Newsday.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. So this is clearly, it looks like a glowing report card for the Nnpc, especially as they're about to be deconstructed under the Petroleum Industry Act. How positively should we greet this news? They're making a savings of about 12 billion naira, but then compared with other oil industries outside of Nigeria that are making their profits in the billions in dollars, how positively should we greet this?
Well, first of all, we should congratulate Nnpc, particularly the Group Managing Director, for leading his workforce to be able to record this profit of 287 billion naira after tax, coming in 44 years after the existence of Nnpc. So he and his managers, team members should pat themselves at the back, that they were able to achieve this feat. And also the president has also indicated through his spokesman, Femi Adesina, that the achievement was coming on the heel of the determination of the president to bring back Nnpc to a sound footing And so he too should be, the president should also be congratulated that the objective is set for Nnpc has been achieved. Now, the significant achievement should also be viewed against the backdrop that the Nnpc now is going to be in a state of transition, especially with the passing of the Petroleum Act that will turn Nnpc to a commercial organization, Nnpc Limited. And one of the objectives set for the Nnpc Limited would be to run the organization on a commercial basis, that the accounts, the financials of the company will be such that could be taken to the financial market to raise funds for some of the projects the company will do, especially for its subsidiaries and so on. So the fact that the losses have been reducing from 2018 of 803 billion naira to 1.7 billion naira loss in 2019, and now having a positive of 287 billion naira. The corporation and everybody involved, both from the administration, from the president down to the Nnpc, and particularly the current group managing director of Nnpc, should be congratulated and commended for this achievement. But having said that, shouldn't we consider that why has it taken Nnpc almost 44 years of its existence to be able to reduce loss making, to be able to come to profit level? And what has happened? What has been the problem? Yes, the group managing director has identified a number of factors helping them to achieve this feat by way of being transparent and accountable. And the present group managing director has been noted for this sterling quality of Mr. Transparency, Mr. Accountability. So it should be commended. But what does it say about the previous administration of Nnpc? Then secondly, the efficiency that the corporation has now exhibited to make for this improved performance, doesn't mean that in the past such efficiency was lacking, such transparency was lacking. So I hope that one day somebody out there, either the financial expert or scholars, will be able to dig down into the history of Nnpc, particularly in terms of the finances and the efficiency and the performance, to see what indeed has been responsible. I know for a fact that the owners of a company, the shareholders, and the owners, basically, which in this case is government, should be held responsible for the organization not making profit for a whole 43 years. Or indeed, was it actually true? Or was it that the system of accounting in Nnpc has been changed to with a view to be able to do accurate accounting, that it should be able to turn out to be profitable? Or was it because the current administration has been is well disciplined, unlike in the past, when probably the previous administration, the owners of Nnpc, were just taking money out of the company with a view to that has now resulted into the losses. And in this country, we know too well that government has been troubling Nnpc. I will put it, troubling Nnpc over the years in terms of making Nnpc to double into so many things, making payment to so many things that would not be considered to be related to the operations of the company. So in this particular case, maybe this could consider to be partly responsible. And if some of these expenses were written back into the books of Nnpc, maybe for those here that we consider Nnpc to be making losses, maybe the corporation would have been making a profit.
Yes.
So the point I'm trying to make here is that the discipline of any administration will make or mark the performance of an organization. I hate to believe that it has taken Nnpc 43 years or 44 years as we now have to be able to bring the corporation to a profit-making level.
Yes,
and
sir.
it's very unfortunate this has been the case. But
Yes.
I believe and I hope, and I'm very emphatic on this, that I hope somebody out there will not sweep this, people will not sweep this issue under the carpet, and there should be even people would research into Nnpc, because unless we are able to get the actual fact, then we may still come back to make the same mistakes. The factors that the GMD mentioned, yes, they are relevant and they are quite legitimate, but at the same time, we should actually unearth some of the factors responsible for lackluster performance of Nnpc over the years.
We definitely agree. I mean, 44 years is a very long time. And we're hearing reports that, I mean, obviously we've made such a huge increase. My question to you is this something that is sustainable, first of all? And second of all, we're hearing that there's no audited report, even though we're declaring profits. Wondering how that can come about, if you can clear that up for us.
Now, if it's talking about sustainability, like I said before, and we all know too well that Nnpc is now going to be a commercial organization. It will no longer be business as usual, both in terms of performance as well as the keeping of the books. Because if Nnpc Limited is not going to go back to the government with cap in hand for bailout when it gets into financial difficulties, and it can just operate like any commercial organization that could go and raise funds, in the capital market to finance some of the projects. And it will no longer be that government is making subventions or government is bailing Nnpc Limited out. So they will have no choice but to keep their books properly. And also, they won't have any choice to maintain high level of performance, just like any company that wants to make progress in their business operation. And they will be the Nigerian public, that is the ultimate shareholders of Nnpc. As you know, Nnpc, the shares of Nnpc Limited is being invested in the federal government of Nigeria, and the federal government of Nigeria represents Nigerian people. And to that extent, Nigeria, the issue of performance of Nnpc will continue to generate interest of Nigerians. And to that extent, the management of Nnpc Limited will be made to be accountable, and they will no longer have any excuse of running to government. Okay. And they should not allow government to be taking their money to all kinds of sundry expenses that are totally unrelated.
Dr. Fawibe, before we let you go, as the president had deliberately held on to the reins of Minister of Petroleum Resources, do you think that this report card, as I put it, is a commendation to him and would somehow justify his having held on to those reins, despite people saying he shouldn't have?
Well, you see, let's take this as a case of sending your children to school. Over time, the child has been coming back home with poor results or failure. But for once, it comes back home, or she comes back home with a report card that shows that she passed and it's no longer failure. Any sensible parent will obviously commend that child, and say that, give him encouragement to do better. So the Minister of Petroleum, actually is the president. The Minister of State for Petroleum is Silver. So we can now, yes, some people may be very reluctant to commend the president, for making Nnpc to achieve this, and we'll still continue with the pattern of losses. But if we have achieved success, no matter how small, 287 billion naira profit as against 1.7 billion losses last year, it's a remarkable achievement. Let it be on record that Nnpc, during the time of the current president, President Buhari, has turned Nnpc to a profit-making organization. Incidentally, Nnpc was formed when he was Minister of Petroleum way back in 1977. Nnpc was amalgamation from Nigerian National Oil Corporation and the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy. And Colonel Buhari, as he was then known, was the first chairman of Nnpc and minister, commissioner. They used to call ministers commissioner then. It was under his watch that Nnpc came to being. Okay. So it has now gone a full circle.
Yes.
So to that extent, he can praise himself and also commend the people who have worked to ensure that this achievement was actually made.
Thank you, Dr. Fawibe. We give credit where credit is due. Sure. Thank you for your insights on this particular story on Newsday.